Hey, hello everybody. Drew Shapiro here with my co-host Nick Hatt. Welcome to the second episode of Between Whiskey and Pneumonia. We're here today with the owner of CB Asphalt and Concrete, as well as CB Rentals, Craig Blankenship. Craig, thanks for coming down today.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. Love to hear about what you have going on and what this new year is bringing you and how business is going. So maybe give us a little rundown.
Well, this is going to be my 23rd year in business. Started back in high school. My cousin worked for Air Pump Co., and he was making spray systems, a bunch of air compressor stuff, diaphragm pumps and spray systems for seal coating companies. He said, "Hey, man, there's some money in seal coating. You should check this out." So I come up and sprayed a parking lot with him, and away we went. That's how that was the birth of CB. Started in residential seal coating, and as demand went up, we did more, man. I mean, started doing hot rubber, because if you wanted the parking lots, you had to take care of the cracks, and then striping, well, started doing that too. And then they wanted to catch basins and pieces of concrete, so we learned that. And man, I tell you, it's just fast forward a bit, 74 employees strong. A few companies, I have CB Rentals, Pavement Supply Plus. We own our own mills. We have a 4-foot and a 7'2" big mill for doing road patches. 2 concrete crews, dirt crews, seal coat, soft surface crews to repair grass. Some great mechanics, and our company's all about basically a family-oriented company. Everybody really cares for each other, and we're really humping it along. That's a very narrow shot of everything, but
No, that's awesome. I love hearing you say, family-oriented. It's most business owners I talk to have 2 families. It's the one they go home to and then the one they leave to in the morning. And at least most of the successful ones I know treat it that way. So, maybe tell us about, some of the challenges you faced getting here.
Well,
we've all had them. Right?
Yeah, you get to a certain stage. So, starting out, it was great to be a one-man show and a helper. And I was doing my own sales and accounting and repairs and all my own operating. You get to a point where you're like, man, it's burning up all my time, but I'm doing good. And you want some more free time. So you're like, okay, hire a couple more employees. So you get a team rolling, and you focus on sales and repairs and every other aspect of the company. And you kind of realize that you gave away a lot of your profits to get the crew going. So you had to get a little bit bigger. So now you plan on putting on another crew, and your mechanic work goes up, your clerical work, secretary work. There's more of that. Still got to do sales. So it's kind of like a brutal animal. And then in the same respect, your customer starts expecting more. You want to stay in these bigger jobs and keep growing with them. Well, they want you to do more of the services. So then you have service partners, people that you subcontract to, and, it's just a brutal animal. You got to hire a mechanic next. Took away some of your profits, going to get some more productivity going. And next thing you know, you're just running yourself ragged in sales. You're salesmen, Now the customer has you pouring concrete. We did that PLA contract in Hamtramck. We poured the concrete back after all those LED lights. And, back in that time, it was just a 5-yard dump truck with many, many trips to the dump, So it kind of forces you to keep growing, and in that respect, to make sure you're hiring good people that care. And, if you care about your guys, they're going to care about you. And that's really important.
Yep. Yes, it is. What made you, a lot of guys I talk to, they say, we'd like just to keep it small, one small crew, one 5-yard dump truck, one machine.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
So, I had guys that were helping me with the work. I was subbing it, and my buddy Justin is now in Florida. He says, "Man, Craig, I got to go to Florida this winter. We're a little tight on funds to make it through that gap. My buddy Chris Patterson, which is now my sales manager, he was down in Florida doing sales, and I said, well, I'll hook you up with Chris, and hopefully he has some work for you, and it'll help you out. All right, great, man, thanks. Good guy. He goes to Florida. He calls me up and says, Craig, I'm not coming back. What do you mean you're not coming back, man? I already sold all this work, like, what am I going to do? And it's like, I'm sorry, man, the money's too good down here. Well, what are you doing with all your guys? I hired all those guys and went out, bought the equipment, and started doing it myself. That's another one of those push the growth deals, but never once did we sacrifice quality over quantity. It had to make sure you had all your ducks in a row before you made that leap.
That's awesome. And I think very rarely do you see that, when people are always striving towards bigger numbers, trying to hit quotas. It seems like quality is one of the first things that gets sacrificed along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. You need more dump trucks. You need more pickup trucks for the salesmen and to get the crew around, and you need more tools. And next thing you know, you're like, oh man, my grade, my prep grade, it's too slow. I need a dozer. Next thing you know, you get a dozer and you land a really big job. Then you're in the GPS, and it just, man, what an animal, what an adventure. To come today to 74 employees and creating our own trucks in the shop. We're recycling asphalt and concrete right in New Boston. We're looking at aggregate prices this year with that huge jump in price. It's going to be a big learning curve for our company or for our customers this year to be able to explain to them why our prices are going up. But they're already seeing it in their groceries and their fuel. I mean, we're getting it from all aspects too. Look, your replacement parts for your trucks, they're going up 35, 50%. Mm-hmm. You can't even get tires right now. If you have a contract and we're running our trucks in and out of the dump and we get a flat tire and we don't have backups, that truck's going to go down. What are you going to do with that driver?
Right.
The demand is at a good high. The price for repair parts and fuel and labor are up through the roof. And it all comes down to is the customer is going to have to learn and change their expectations of what their budget's going to get them for the repairs this year. So, I mean, that opens up a whole nother avenue, a little jumping around here, but, that's ultimately probably the biggest fear of this year would be the learning curve of our customers and how the economy is going to swallow the changes that are happening for 2022.
I couldn't agree more. I've seen that across multiple industries, and with what I do, I see it in all sorts of places along the supply chain, right? And without calling out what exact product it was, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and the price of their widget is going up, and they're sending breakup letters to major national retailers who do tons of volume, just because they're not willing to swallow that bump in price. And these are things that you would expect to have a major impact on big companies selling these widgets, right? And I think people are just going to have to get through it. And it's amazing that consumers have stayed as strong as they are. People just keep spending money.
Oh, yeah. Last October, the salesman got together with me and said, hey, we're going to experience some growth next year. We're going to have to fire up a couple more crews. So we put another concrete crew on, luckily enough to find some great members there to come join our team. And always looking for guys, man, to weed out the right guys for the job. That's one of the hardest parts. And then picking your head up and realizing, well, man, you're going to need a couple more dump trucks. You're going to need a form truck. You're going to need a trailer. There's skid steer and breaker and broom. We ordered 5 brand new pickup trucks at the beginning of November. Paid for 3 of them. Still don't have one yet. Just got the VIN numbers for 3 of them. Actually, we just got the VIN numbers for all 5 2 days ago. We ordered the service bodies for these trucks just after that, and they're weeks out. I recently just ordered 4 brand new skid steers, and I did it. There's low risk. Like, I need them. If I don't need them come October of this year when they come in, I'll be able to turn them away with no penalty. But if I didn't order them right now and I need them in October, you're not getting them.
Not getting them.
No.
Yep.
You know, we were just in the auction today buying some equipment, and I ran around October, November, you know, in the general area of time. I ran around last year and picked up more skid steers and ordered trailers. And, yeah, you just at this moment of time, I feel like we all need to really pick our head up and figure out what type of growth we're going to experience and really start planning ahead and trying to figure out ways to make things cheaper for our customers. If you're using a lot of limestone, start considering crushed concrete, you know, different forms of base and means and methods to try to cheapen it up. Because, you know, I was just talking to one of our service partners, Messina Concrete, family owned since 1980. They have locations in Plymouth, Flat Rock, Monroe. Great people, man. They're experiencing a $10 increase this year for the general contractor coming in off the streets for concrete. I mean, I know that changes. I mean, from where you're from,
It's pretty much the same across the board.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Except for, you know, Detroit compared to your area. I mean, who's to say what street price is, right? But
All over the place.
yeah, I mean, it's a big deal, you know. So a lot of planning for this year and coming up with a game plan before you talk to your customers. My salesmen are coming back into the office now full force. You know, I have 4 sale guys moving, and they know that they're faced an uphill battle this year to explain the budgets that we planned for 2022 might have changed. You know, some people get 3-year plans on what they're going to receive out of their budgeted money. Well, I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. You can only do what you can.
Yeah. It's a problem all over the industry. Several municipalities, they weren't prepared for these price increases.
Yeah, man.
So planning is difficult right now. I think you and I were talking just this morning about me ordering stuff for my trucks and things, and it's just not going to happen.
Right. You were talking about the price increase for a service body, and it was tough to swallow. You didn't budget that much for a service body, but you got to have it. What are you going to do? Slap some wood on the bed and look like a professional? You know, your back's kind of against the wall, you know, so you got to put your best foot forward and calculate all this into your company growth and maintaining.
Yep. So with the problems of 2022, backing up, how did you go from a sprayer and just a couple guys in your old pickup truck? You know, what made you want to get to where you are now, and how did you get there? I mean, I know it's money, fucking hard.
Oh yeah. Money drives most. Do I like money? Yeah, absolutely. It's a sense of accomplishment of what you can do, right? Well, you know, my buzz from the job is accomplishment. When I poured my first, I believe it was 40 by 80 plus a 20-foot lean-to, and then a huge concrete pad in the front of it. And look, this thing had heated floors, reinforced bridges. We had a thicker area for where the hoist was going to go. We planned out where the walls were. Like, to a lot of people, you know, that pour it every day, that's not a big deal. But for the small guy coming up that I was, I got done. I looked around. I was like, man, this is awesome. You know, I pulled this off, not a hitch. I mean, things are great. So we thrive on that, you know. Becoming MDOT certified and starting to do road work.
Yeah,
and
it's huge.
Emergency repairs. You know, you're kind of chasing the dollar, but you're chasing the dream. So to be able to do what not everybody can, it was a majority of my drive. And realistically, everybody can. You just got to have your heart in it. If is that what you want to do? There was plenty of times where I sacrificed sleep and I was working a full-time job to be able to run out and seal coat parking lots, lay concrete, asphalt patching, you know, you name it. But in order to maintain my customers, I had to be there and I had to sacrifice my time. So, but yeah, that's mainly the drive of the growth was pride, you know, and then the animal of keeping the customers happy and expanding your services. Everybody has service partners. You have people that you call for plumbing. You have people that you call for trucking when you're overbooked. You have suppliers. we all have our service partners, and to keep some of that in house can adjust our price too. You know, you don't have to get as much if you're farming it out, you know, or if you don't farm it out. So yeah, I mean, drive is definitely money and just pride of being able to handle the work. You know, how cool is it to be able to go run an excavator one day, a dozer the next day, run a $500,000 paver. You know, it's all kind of in tune to the same thing. Right. At the end of the day, when you go home, you get that sense of accomplishment and, you know, knowing that it wasn't handed to you type deal.
Right. Yeah, no, I take a lot of pride in that myself with my own business. But one thing you talked about as far as pride in the work, and speaking with you also take a lot of pride in like you said, the family that you've built in CB Asphalt and your various companies.
Oh yeah.
I think that's important because, like you said, you can't do it by yourself. So, how did you build your company, and how do you keep them employees in and keep them as a family without, you know, a lot of times you can do too much for people.
Oh yeah.
So it seems to me, and what I know about you, all your people, you know, they love you to death.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, only Jesus can slice the bread like he does. You know, you can take a loaf and divide it as evenly as you can. You have to be fair. Sometimes you have to say no. And you go home and you wonder if you made the right decision or not. But when it comes down to it, when our guys need help, we understand. You know, so we're willing to help out. We're willing to loan them a truck, a trailer. I mean, I don't want to go into great detail of what we can do or will do, but we take care of our guys just like they were a family, just like you would your brother, you know. Need stone in their driveway or something unfortunate happens. I mean, look, we just lost my biggest asset. He was like a kid to me. I know him as Little Eddie. And he's been around for a very long time. I held him as a baby. And as he was growing up, he just loved to come over and help me. It didn't matter if it was wrenching on cars or equipment and wanting to make money after school, weekends, come over, help me seal coat, and learn how to lay concrete. He just picked up everything so fast. He was so hungry. Loved to be there, loved to drive. And, you know, when he passed away, a lot of people probably seen it on Facebook, social media. It was huge, man. You've seen miles of trucks, hundreds of people that come together to say goodbye. People that donated their time just to have one last drive, to work one last time for Eddie, the 22-year-old man that totally did a lot. Definitely a tough break there, but that just shows how close we are. You know, we took care of the family. I don't want to go in great detail of what we did, but they're set. They don't have to worry about this trouble anymore. You know, and realistically, it was our team that took care of them. It wasn't me.
Right.
We built all that together. So as long as you care for your guys and you show them that you support them and in a time of need, you're fair, they should respect you. And then when they go out on the job, they're going to put their best foot forward. You know, my guys they're going to push harder. You know, they're going to be some sort of a stable, consistent work performance that we can bid off of. They're going to shoot high on the expectations. They're going to be cleansy on a job. They're going to make sure the customer gets a great product because they want to come back to work tomorrow. They want to make sure they got more work coming in. So you treat them good, they'll treat you good.
Well, that's powerful. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. You know, you get a lot of guys that come to work and they don't care, you know, and you're going to have that no matter what. But, you know, when you do find the guys that want to come in and be a part of a group, you have to
not treat them like an employee number.
It's a relationship. It's not, it can't always be an employer-employee thing. It's got to be a relationship or a common goal, you know, or it's never going to get anywhere.
The flip side about that is if they don't respect you, then you don't respect them. You know, look, I'm not here to babysit you. You know what you got to do. So come in and be a man and do what you're supposed to do. And, man, you'll look over and the owner of CB Asphalt they'll be raking right next to you. I'll be looting, operating, shoveling, sweeping, picking up garbage. I'm not the office guy. I am on the ground every day. I don't like the office. I'm too high strung. I want to get out there and work. You know, when you show up to my job sites, if you don't know who I am, I'll be covered in sweat with a safety vest on, and I'll be having a blast paving right next to the people I care about. You know, so we have a lot of fun and pride doing what we do, and that's what separates us from everybody else.
That's awesome. And a similar note, I think I mentioned to you, I busboy, line cooked all the way through high school, college, and we'd get slammed on big weekends like graduation, Valentine's Day, things like that, and it would always up the morale when the general manager, somebody else hops behind the grill or the fryer and starts throwing down with you. And as much as I was sure I never wanted to do that type of work again, I certainly learned a lot doing it, and about leadership and all sorts of different environments. And I think there's a lot to be said for not being afraid to get down there, get your hands dirty, and lead from the front and lead by example. And frankly, I think that's the only way to do it.
Absolutely. That's the words that were about to come out of my mouth. Lead by example. You know.
Well, the lead, you also have to learn how to follow, I think, a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. Listen to what everybody has to say.
Right.
There's
guys that work for me that they'll pick out a quicker way to do something than I will. You know?
Right.
Or a better way, because I'm usually looking for the quickest way.
Right. So. Always looking how to develop that next tool that nobody has, and the next best thing. What's going to last longer? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, what advice might you give a young Craig looking back?
Well, I got a few good ones. I don't want to sound like the wise guy. Look, I'm turning 39 this year, so I have a lot to learn myself. I may be humble, but it's one bite at a time. You don't eat the whole cake at once. Every day you're going to have a problem. I have a couple of forms of this idea, but every day you're going to have a problem. It's up to you to figure out which problem is more important. You need to attack that problem the best way you can. And, as I learned working for Dearborn Truck, Pokey Oaks, you make a way. If you pay for your guys to learn a mistake and you don't create a way to make it less likely to happen again, you're the one that's not making the good call. Maybe you're the one that's being foolish. You definitely want to explain what they did to everybody in a safety stand down that they did wrong, or depends on what it is. But attack the problem that you have day by day the best you can, and don't try to take on 20 of them at once, unless you have to, because we all have those days.
Right.
But, you do what you can the best you can, and then move on to the next one. The salesmen, their job is to go out and to make a problem. They sell that problem. It goes to the secretary, and she does the clerical part of that problem and gathering the customer's information and, send out the notice of commencement if you do this process or not. Now that problem now goes to your manager. Your manager helps schedule that problem. Well, that problem's just going to get handed off to your foreman. All these people are people that you truly believe in as your team. And if they do something wrong, you're legally bound to make it right. That manager's then handed off to that foreman. That foreman's going to go out there and he's going to attack that work with his team and get it done the best way he can, the best quality, and bring it back to you in a timely manner with pictures saying we're 100%. Well, the manager runs back through and does all the paperwork correctly and documents it, goes back to the salesman, looks it over, hands it back in for billing. I mean, that's like the life cycle of a job or a problem. If your company's of that size, where when we're first starting out, we're the salesman.
Right.
We're the operator. We're the truck driver. We're the mechanic. We're the finisher, whatever job you might be doing.
Right.
And you're slam dunking this all by yourself. But regardless of the case, I mean, just got to keep plucking away one problem at a time.
Yeah, flying solo is rough. A lot of days.
Oh, very. And then you get people that don't come to work and you can't afford to have floaters.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Nowadays, we have 3 floaters. So if
Yeah,
somebody,
a few.
yeah, and they make your job easier on the big jobs when you should have one or two more people.
Right.
You know, if the guys call off, you can still make it shake.
If
The
they
last
call.
thing you want to do is tell a customer to vacate their property or their parking lot and say, hey, you know, this guy, he got that brown bottle flu and he's not going to make it in today, so I don't think I'm going to pour your parking lot.
Right.
You know?
It's not an option.
No, and you can't sacrifice quality, so you wound up paying more money to have a couple floaters, and that all goes back into that having the right people on your team deal.
Yep. So where do you find a balance between CB and CB at home?
CB is home. I mean, I come home and it still happens. You know, to run a company of size, you take it home with you and you try to mask it. You know, the wife would be doing dishes and folding clothes, and you try to chip in here or there, but she's carrying most of the work at home. But in the background, your heart never sleeps. If somebody's having a problem at work, you take it home with you. You know, it depends on what level of care you have. But that's how I am. You know, if there's a problem at work, I'll take it home with me until I figure it out and solve it. You know, you just try to be at peace with it. And, you know, I don't know. I thrive for my company, the team that we built and the stuff that we do. So I don't mind CB home life being CB, you know, so.
You know, sometimes I'd like to shut the phone off, but I don't mind it either.
Have you ever went on vacation? You made it all the way down to your destination, and it's an amazing place. And you're just like,
This just happened.
yeah, you're like, yeah, man, I'm finally here. And you're going day 2. You're supposed to be there for 5 days. And you're like, fuck, man, I just want to get back home and get something done. I'm going losing my mind down here.
Yeah, you never really leave when you're that invested.
No.
And some people just don't get that, or they've never been exposed to running their own business, running their own practice, running their own deal. And once you have, you realize that you never really leave. The phone, you could turn it off, but there's those same problems we talk about are still going to be there when you turn it back on. And just went on a little vacation doing the opposite of what most people do in the winter. We went north to go ice fishing. Okay. And I think way, you know, we took a Thursday, Nick came with, we had a great group, 8 guys. We left Thursday morning, got back Sunday. And you wouldn't think taking, you know, a Thursday, Friday, long weekend kind of deal would compound the way it did. But I think I referred to the following week after that as like a one long Monday, like the entire week was a Monday.
5 of them in a row.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that thought I shared with you not too long ago about the garbage guy that gets Memorial Day off. You know, does he really get that day off? Because really, doesn't the shit just pile up and he's got to pick it up in the next days to come?
Yeah.
You know,
picking up
it's
3 times the amount of shit.
Oh, yeah.
On Tuesday.
Yeah. So he's just going to be more of a problem the next day for him to solve.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, at least he would get holiday pay, but he doesn't get that overtime when he runs, you know, an hour or 2 over on Monday. But, yeah, it's a tough balance, man.
Yeah. Yeah, finding that is difficult. And it's one of those problems I don't think will ever go away. It's just something you have to learn to embrace.
Right.
You know, it's in some ways just being comfortable, being uncomfortable in that sense. You know, I try to set some boundaries with the phone. You know, I do a do not disturb between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., right? Because you got to sleep.
Right.
I'm no good to anybody. It's like when you get on the airplane and they do the little safety brief, and it's like, hey, before helping anybody else, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So, like Nick said, you know, you have to try and find that balance, and I think it's, at least for me, been a struggle. Probably always will be, because when you're that invested, and you do view it as a family, you want to help everybody else first too. But you got to take care of yourself. Make sure you're available,
right,
to help, able to help, not a liability.
Or you get home and, You know, you're thinking about tomorrow's job and what you have to do, and you're kind of excited about it. You know, the new things that are coming to the company and the things that you get all wound up. And you try to go to bed at 10 or 11 and sleep till 5.
Yeah.
But realistically, you're just kind of working in your sleep. I mean, I think I've been moving around in my sleep like I was running machinery. We just recently bought a pulverizer where we're recycling asphalt and concrete. And to go home and wait for the next day to come, and eventually this is just going to be another day at work. But when it's new, it's like,
right
hey,
now,
man,
it's exciting. Yeah.
I can't wait to fire that machine up and make some gravel and see what I can push through it, you know? And, yeah.
But I think a lot of people get confused when they say, you know, oh, you should take some time for yourself. You should, you know, turn that phone off or don't answer when them guys call. Well, you know, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I fucking like it.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of times I don't, you know, I like quiet days. I like, you know, taking a day off, going to the bay and staring out and doing nothing, looking at the water. That's cool. But I'd rather be doing something.
And then you got that customer.
I'd almost rather be working.
That appreciates you.
Terrible as that is.
Because you took their call after hours. You know?
Right.
So, I don't know, as of 3 or 4 years ago, I gave up the company phone number for my company. It used to come straight to me. Well, now it comes to our office manager, and then when she's off, it goes to our sales manager. So a good majority of the calls, which they all do the same, most of them, I would say 85% of our calls, hey, is Craig around?
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm Craig's best friend. Oh, are you? How do you know him? Oh, you know, a friend of a friend. And, you know, they're always trying to get that deal. But, yeah, so a lot of those calls get fielded, and then you always have your main core customers that are going to have your phone number, and they don't want to call and talk to anybody but you.
Yeah, I know that's been a challenge at times too, because, you know, we're not always there on the job. Some days, even though I like to do it, you like to do it, you're not there. They'll talk to this guy, and whatever that guy says isn't good enough, so they'll call you, and it's.
Or how about when you're doing this MDOT work that you like to do, and you're barricaded off, your hole's open, you haven't poured back yet, but somebody moved your barricades or they fell over.
Yeah.
They won't pick them up for you. They're going to call you to come back out there and maintenance your your job site. And if you don't answer, well, that's liability, right?
Right.
There's always a problem waiting to happen.
Yep. People get used to the way you do it, right?
Yep.
And they don't want to talk to anybody but Craig or Nick or Drew. And I can identify with that. You know, I took a brief detour into political office away from my business, and I collaborated with an extremely qualified partner of mine to, you know, help work with some of my clients. And, you know, it wasn't for lack of qualification whatsoever, but they're like calling me up, hey, he just doesn't do it the way you do it. You know, we want Drew back. So glad to be retired from that arena. And I can relate, but I think that means you've developed a value, you know, in those people's eyes. And again, that's what separates making it from not, or good from great, or whatever you want to call it.
Or the amount of time it takes to share views with your partners in crime. You know, your we call it CB family, but our guys, I mean, most of them already know how I would feel, and they have the same views. So as long as you have the right people in place, I mean, that lessens that blow quite a bit. But all about having the right people, making the right choices, and they're going to make the wrong decision. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to kind of let it happen and weather the storm. You know, shouldn't have said that to the customer. Your means and methods was wrong. You should have set the traffic enclosure different. You weren't supposed to be on that site until 7. Couldn't shut down the road till 8. You know, you could tell them they're blue in the face, but sometimes people got to learn with example, unfortunately.
So, yeah, finding the right people for sure. And then how do you personally deal with retaining the right people, making sure you keep those key people around?
Well, you gotta make it rewarding. You know, everybody's gonna be pretty cutthroat. we like to offer what you're worth. You know, we understand, like, I've never collected unemployment ever. I've always had a job and a company, and I just hit it hard. When you have somebody that's dedicated and they pour their all into it, you have to give that fair slice to them. And that's that. You know, we do the best we can. And as you grow and you get bigger, the more money you make, it becomes easier to offer more, and you could be the more rewarding company. But as long as you keep that balance of treating your people right and compensating within Rome, you don't really have to worry. There's always going to be somebody coming and going, and it's hard not to get your emotions wrapped around that, but it does happen. You know, you can't, tomorrow's never promised for anybody, you know, especially if another company sees your salesman doing good, well, they're going to want that salesman. If they see a finisher that really kicks ass, they're going to want that finisher. And the finisher likes to go, hey, this guy over here, Nick, he wants to give me an extra $5 an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so then you got to figure out if that's worth it, you know? But yeah, there's parameters in every position in the company. And if you are overpaying in one parameter, in one position, you are cheating everybody else in the company. So you have to just figure out what those numbers are, pay attention to company growth, and pay attention to the economy around you, and just be as fair as you can be, and take the time, give your guys the time to explain how you feel to them. And if they accept that, they should be able to respect that. And if they don't, well, then that might not be the right partner for you. It might not be the right person for that problem. There's always a time that you have to replace, and you know that whole nother category here. But we were talking about, you know, bidding. Everybody's like, "Hey, how much a square foot?
Right.
How much a ton? How much a yard? What'd you make a ton on that?" That's the common. You know, go to these trade shows, all these paving guys. What'd you get a ton on that? Oh man, I don't bid it that way.
Right.
Everybody does, Craig. Why don't you do it that way? Well, because it doesn't matter. What matters is you have so much time in a year. When you first start out, it's easier to be the cheapest guy to fill that time. That'll fill your schedule right up. But then you look at how much you wore your equipment out, and you're just running mix through your paver, and you're wearing your guys out and burning on both ends. And next thing you know, you're aiming towards better money work that you enjoy to do more. It's more enjoyable. Well, you only have that much time in a year, so you start upping your prices a little bit, and you're weeding out the cheaper stuff. You know, you're not being greedy. You're being fair to your people and your company. You know, your time is worth money, and your experience and experience in your company is worth money. So you just keep growing, and you just set that bar and raise it higher and higher. Another thing that we like to do that not many other companies do is we only want to work Monday through Friday. It's kind of crazy when you're a seasonal company, right?
Right.
Everybody wants you to work 7 days a week and just grind. Well, your grandbabies are young. You only get so much time with them. I'd rather add another crew than work the weekend. Now, sure, if it rains, we're going to pick up a day on the weekend. You know,
Right.
if we got a hard-pressed customer here and there, we're going to give them some overtime. Or, hey, if we got a group of employees that want to make some better money, we'll just let the salesman know. They'll sell something for them. We have opportunities. But we focus Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to when the job gets done. And we crank in some hours. And then our guys love being able to go home on the weekends. I'm not going to call out names of any other paving companies. I don't want to sound like I'm taking stabs at anybody. But, man, when you work your guys 7 days a week and you burn them into the ground and they lose the first walk, the first game, the first everything with their kids, I mean, what's it really worth?
Yeah, we struggle with that a lot. Just because back to what I said earlier, I like to work. I'd probably work 7 days a week just because that's what I do. And we battle back and forth. Because there's a few guys that are all right with that, and then there's a few guys that aren't. So there's definitely got to be a balance there for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it brings me back to a sound belief or statement, which is time is the only thing you can't mitigate, right? It's the only thing you can't get back. you can mitigate hunger, you can mitigate hot or cold, but you can't mitigate time or the loss of it.
Can't buy time. That's right. You can sell your time, but you can't buy it back.
Right. No kidding.
And I get what you're
pneumonia.
saying about COVID. I get what you're saying about.
It's in the title.
Yeah. I get what you're saying about wanting to work and whatnot, and just circle back around my little buddy one more time. Little Ed, if you could bring him back one day and you say, hey, man, what do you want to do today? If it was something to do with me, of course, if his family was there, he would probably want to do something with his family one last day. But him and I might just pick going and paving a parking lot,
Right.
opposed to traveling around to some race somewhere. I mean, we had fun doing everything we did, but when we get together and we pull something off as a team, it's something great. It's a sense of accomplishment. We enjoy it. He might just say, hey, man, let's go to work one last day, Or I might be crazy. He might say, hey, man, let's go do King of the Hammers again. That was a blast. Let's go across the desert.
That would be a blast.
Yeah. Or, down south to go wheeling in the mountains. And he loved everything. But, I guess what I'm going with that is we have fun doing everything, and work's a big part of it. We enjoy doing what we do.
So King of the Hammers, that's how you and I originally hooked up, was the off-road Jeep. I've got my Jeep and it's overbuilt. Nothing on it is Jeep except for the steering wheel.
Right.
And you've got some pretty cool shit.
Yeah, it's a sick
tell us
addiction,
about it.
right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, we were on Rock Bouncer, Pro Rock. We would go down south and, you would look at a hill and be like, man, you can't make that.
You can't even walk up it.
Right. Well, if you can, we'll give you this much in a trophy. Well, hell, let's try. Right. So we have a single seat Rock Bouncer, 1,800 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer. It's like a mini monster truck. And, you can Google me on YouTube. You could see a couple videos of the one race we set a personal best, or a best of climbing the hill. It's a bounty hill. We made some money, and we've also didn't make it to the top and rolled to the bottom, which that's a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's insane, but they're set up pretty well. And then a good buddy of mine, Jody Ford, he's running our Ultra 4 car this weekend. That car is a little bit different. It's a Swiss Army knife of the off-road vehicle. So it's made, unlike the Rock Bouncer, our Rock Bouncer will burn 8 gallons of fuel in 6 minutes if you're working it.
Right.
And you're done. That's C85. It's like alcohol. Flames out the exhaust, crazy. Ultra 4 car, you're talking 22 gallons of fuel. And, King of the Hammers was like 186 miles, a couple pits. Mm-hmm. So you have two different animals there where you're crossing the desert with whoop sections and trophy truck style stuff. And then you come to rock sections where you need to make it through huge rocks, man. Winch yourself out of areas. And, you do it with a passenger that's helping navigate you through the course, right, with a screen in front of them to keep you on course. A couple different animals, and also big in the drag racing too. We have a lot of different types of street cars, usable horsepower. I don't really have a drag car yet, but it's coming. I'm probably getting drag racing next. I was just down in Texas not too long ago with my buddy Johnny Quick. He's running the American's Top List and kind of down there helping out for one of his races. Man, he was down there for like a month and a half racing that race. That's so hard on the family.
Right.
Take something you love and be stuck so far away from watching your little one grow up. I was watching him kind of struggle with that, missing his kid every day. He's like, man, I miss my kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Closest I've come to that is just rolling the side-by-side in the neighbor's field. Jumping it off a seawall and not messing it up on the jump on the way down, but ironically coming back up. And that's when I learned about beadlock. But we've since sold that device.
My Jeep's in about 100 pieces.
So what type of racing do you do?
I don't do any racing.
Just crazy wheeling and
take that thing out and break it.
Yeah. It's not racing, it's braking.
Yep. It's set up. It's it's set up right now to get in 4 length in the front, 4 length in the rear. It's gonna have 16-inch coilovers, and the best part about it, it's got an LSA motor in it. And
Okay.
It dynoed at 640 with 38s on it.
Nice.
So it's pushing some power. It's a fucking scary ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, they got that Pro Rock race, Race to Riches, down at Rush Off Road, and that was an opening. You would go up the side of this hill, and it was a break in the opening. 19-foot cliff as far as height goes. It was a 44-foot wide gap, but you're jumping in the middle of the hill and landing on the top side of it. So I raced that race a while back, and first run we cleared it, and we were like 4th in the first heat. Second heat comes up. I lose 3rd gear, and I'm just at the top of that lip. I'm just holding it to the floor. I'm like, man, something don't feel right, but it's too late. Case that damn thing and jarred my back, and yeah, I mean it's definitely a rush, but it's kind of like every time you go out, you come back, you got to work on something. And it's something else. You got to have a team on, man. You got to have the right people there to help you through.
Yeah, I'm all about mitigating risk, right? So, but I believe fundamentally that if you're more conservative in certain areas, it allows you to be more aggressive in other areas. So I can vibe with you on that level of coming back and making sure the right pieces are in place. But wow.
So how about you, man? You got a lot lined up this year in sales. Are you ready for this year?
We're working on it, man. The guys are in the office right now.
How about carryover from last year? You got stuff you didn't finish?
A few of them, yeah. So actually, quite a bit.
Spoon feeding the change order of, or are you just going to swallow the difference?
No, I swallowed a lot of difference last year.
Learn from it, eh?
Yeah, no, the escalators are sent out. And,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're definitely
getting calls already.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How do you like to advertise?
That's the thing a lot of people have beat on me about. We don't hardly do any marketing. We don't have a website. I call people. I call people and I talk to them.
Cold call them. Okay.
Like I did you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you did. So you don't go on BidNet or anything like that?
Yeah. We've got BidNet and Builders Exchange, and there's Plan Hub and Building Connected, and all those. We get all that stuff. But for the most part, I'm on one of those websites tracking it down, cherry picking what we want to look at and what we don't.
Do you run an estimate software, or how do you track your jobs?
I use Stack, but a lot of times I do it with pen and paper.
Stack, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's an online bidding software.
Okay.
And you put all your prints in there, scale them all off, and
it takes the takeoffs for you.
Not really. You still have to highlight the individual items on the plan, but you can put all your different formulas in there, and it'll tell you how much rebar, how much concrete, how much everything you can put in there. It's actually a pretty cool program. It's expensive, but it's saved me thousands of hours.
We still do our own spreadsheet. We use an Excel sheet when we have formulas calculated in, and we started looking at pavement layers, or maybe it was pavements off. We were starting to look at a couple of different options, and man, it's just the same thing and served a different way, and a couple better trackers to keep track of the customers, So I haven't really found the software that makes me happy yet. It makes me feel whole. It'd be nice to make sure that we're keeping up on estimates, but as of right now, we just have people putting them into a ring binder, and we check off the estimates as we go and make sure we do follow-up calls. And it's a manual way of doing it.
You know what? I agree with that 100%. I've got a notebook that has probably every bid I've done in the last 3 or 4 years in it. Every single one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to look back.
Find yourself
what did we do here? What did we do there?
Find yourself making a list before you go to sleep of what you plan on doing tomorrow, because you wake up in the morning, you miss a couple of things. Yep. I'm sure you're a pretty busy guy with that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm old school. I like pen and paper. It doesn't lose power. The batteries don't die. It's all, do
you date the top right-hand corner of each day that goes by and keep
left-hand corner? Yeah.
Okay.
Left-hand corner.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much every single day. And it's funny, you talk about not finding the right software that does it for you. And I just don't think that exists, at least for me personally, with what I do being so relationship driven, that a phone call, like Nick said, is going to beat everything. Every time people don't make phone calls anymore. People text, people email. They're scared to pick up the phone and actually hear a voice on the other end. And sometimes when they do make a phone call, they're just hoping it goes straight to voicemail.
You got your follow-up list, right, though? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
so we all make phone calls, but if you get a surge of estimates like we do,
Oh, yeah.
you get a backlog going, what do you do? About once every week, every single one of those people, although you couldn't get to them, they get a phone call and an explanation?
Yeah, I usually call them, hey, what's up?
Yeah, sorry we haven't made it there. We have an extremely high call volume. We understand you're in need.
Right.
Don't want to lose you as a customer. Just letting you know that we haven't forgot about you, but this is where we're at.
Yeah, we try to schedule things out pretty good, though, like in the MDOT stuff. We know what weeks we're going to be there,
Right.
Doesn't always work that way. But.
So is most of your business MDOT?
I would say probably 35-40% of it.
Okay. No residential, but commercial.
Yeah.
Homeowners associations and
Not so much the homeowners association stuff. More we've done a lot of county work.
Yeah.
A lot of private commercial. So.
And we do a lot with utility companies. We're number one in consumers for the state. When I say the state, I'm going to say majority of the state, because there's a few areas locally that we don't have granted to us. We started work with DTE last year.
Nice.
We have soft surface restoration crews to fix topsoil and grass and irrigation units and everything. A lot of our work is going to be HOAs, big utility companies running big pipe, replacing full streets. We're referred in Ann Arbor by a lot of the city guys. They just like us and how clean we are and how well of a job we do, and we take care of everybody in the area, and they don't have to worry about us messing the job up. When they show up and they surprise inspect us, they're like, oh yeah, CB is always doing what they're supposed to do. So
All right, that's good.
we keep a pretty good report.
That's good.
Yeah, that tickler file, like you mentioned, is important in the follow-up list. I still use a shoebox with little sections dated out for, follow up in 6 months. I move a card out 6 months. It's Al Granum, his one card system. It's got to be at least over 100 years old. But it's funny because when the computers are down, internet's down at the office, there's somebody who's still able to get work done.
Right.
So, yeah, super old school, especially for someone my age. It's funny. I think printers are like my worst enemy in the office. They're always breaking at the most inopportune moments. So no, I prefer to do it that way with a phone call.
Could you imagine if you didn't have your cell phone? The pictures, follow-ups, phone calls, availability, back in our beeper days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, man.
Yeah, no, it's the world for me would stop immediately. Like
Reminders in your phone.
Yep.
Alarms.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't figured out how to use all that correctly just yet, but
Then you always got to figure out, like, man, why the hell didn't that alarm go off? Why didn't that reminder pop up?
right.
I was setting a
Must have sweat in my
stopwatch, not an alarm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, it's amazing. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were saying, not too long ago, it would take millions of dollars and fill an entire room to have the computing power that each of us all walk around with in our pocket every day now. And not being a tech guy at all, I found that to be pretty profound. I'm like, wow, if you took this device back 100 years and just gave it to one person, it'd be like having a 50 cal Ma Deuce in the Revolutionary War. Like just imagine what you could do with that thing.
You need more than one, though. If you're
Right.
the only one with a cell phone, it's not going to go too far.
No doubt. But that computing power, right, to be able to Google stuff,
yardage,
stuff up,
tonnages, square footages.
Yeah, just the calculator aspect too, right?
FindLotSize.com. Measure the parking lot from your phone while you're standing there. I mean,
future value.
Really?
Oh yeah,
present value.
Absolutely. It's like Google Measure. It's amazing. Just type in Find Lot Size, download the app on your phone. You can press a button, drop you where you're standing today, or punch in an address, and you can measure length or square footage
Of the parking lot that you're standing in.
Yeah, I could drop it on this pin right now and measure the size of this roof. Just with my finger.
Wow.
Yep.
Have you double checked it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We live by it, man. Our salesmen go back and forth from Google Measure to FindLotSize.com. And how about radiuses? How do you measure a radius? What if your parking lot's shaped kind of funny? You get your square footage lengths times width.
Right.
Well, if you got this app right here, you can account for that radius, that triangle, that rectangle. You could just, whatever you want to do, but you can take the island out of it. Just get good square footage. You get really close. More accurate on your phone with FindLotSize.com than I think it would be with a walking wheel.
Probably. The county guys get it down pretty good. The MDOT guys are squared away.
Oh, yeah. Let's play with it a little bit. You'll like that. Yeah, save a lot of time.
Check it out.
I do like Navionics for ice fishing.
Yes.
Especially. That's super helpful. And you guys, I'm sure, have seen Onyx.
Yes. Yep.
Right. I love that.
Yep. I've got
where
Alex
I'm
on my
at,
phone.
where my property lines are at.
Yep. Neighbor's property line, their name. You're looking for new property to hunt. Yep. I'm a deer hunter, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I want access to ice fish a private lake. Okay, I'm going to go on Onyx and see who I know and then see who might know them.
This guy's name's Charles, but there's no house on his property. But down the street, his name's Charles, too. I'll go knock on his door.
Maybe I'll get permission to get on this lake, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All sorts of fun stuff.
Then we got your concrete calculator, your asphalt calculator that's in your phone. So
Yep.
get your square footage off the FindLotSize.com and then jump on your asphalt calculator and punch in there and figure out your tonnage if you're not going to do your hard math. Or if you want to figure out how much topsoil or aggregate you're going to need to fill that hole, you punch it right in there too. Figure out your yardage and figure out what your material needs for compaction or converting it over from yardage to tonnage and help you figure out your yields for estimates. I mean, everything from your phone is definitely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, just the computing power alone, forget the fact that it's a phone, right?
Right.
Just used to fill a whole building.
So this year, my manager's idea, Mike Bennett, said, "Hey, man, GPS and cameras in the trucks." I was like, "Oh, sounds expensive." Well, think about those guys. Like, man, why is that guy got a Cabela's bag getting out of the passenger seat of his truck? What's that dad doing with some window blinds? Why is that in his truck? That's because he had time to deviate off route and go grab something from a store. Or if you're on the back of a paver and you're multitasking and you're figuring out how many more tons to get to the end and the plant's calling you saying, "Hey, we're going home at 5.
All right.
Get your mix and get out of here. I want to go home." Well, now you need to know where your trucks are. So if you can just hit a button, you can pull up where all your trucks are at. It's kind of easy to help manage who's on your way to the plant, who's on their way back, what truck number's coming. And it's just fast and available. So we're stepping it up to GPS and cameras in every truck. We get a kickback from our insurance of $2,000 for having cameras in the trucks.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then like our form trucks and whatnot, they have 4 cameras around them. So if they're out doing a job and you can't get a hold of them and they're pouring mud and you're like, "Hey, man, I'm not sure where this guy's at." Well, you can pull up his GPS and turn on his cameras and see what he sees. And we're not buttoning out of their business.
Take care of your shit. It's your truck.
But, if you're looking for a quick answer, like, "Hey, man, this guy's got 4 jobs today. He's on job 2. You want to know where he's at. He's not answering his phone because if he's like me, if I'm working, I'm not going to answer that phone until I'm ready."
Shouldn't be answering the phone when he's driving a commercial vehicle anyway.
That's absolutely right. Or if he's out there, working on the ground, you can pull up his GPS. Oh, he's not in his truck. He's not around his truck, but look, that toolbox is open, and he's over here at this address, and he's been here for this long. So you're next, man. He's still coming.
Yeah, you got a good idea of how long it's going to be before he leaves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the gist of things, you add up everything, it's quite a bit of money, but the safety, the possibility of getting sued over an accident when it wasn't their fault. Now you can prove that your driver did what they were supposed to. They weren't texting and driving. The other person locked the brakes up in front of them. Theft. Well, you could get in and you can rip the camera out of my truck, but that doesn't take the GPS out.
Right.
So you're going to think you're getting away with all my tools that are taking over a year to replace. And next thing you know, we're just show up right where you're at.
Right.
You could take the battery out. There's a battery backup. Like it's a pretty good system.
Technology is amazing. Makes me wonder how, like my grandpa was in the concrete business. How?
Right.
What do you do when you run short?
Yeah, what was it, 4 cents a gallon of fuel and probably $35 a yard of concrete?
Yeah, probably about that.
Maybe cheaper on the concrete even, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Crazy, Martin. Crazy times.
Crazy times is right.
Getting crazier by the day.
Yes.
For sure. Appreciate you coming on, Craig.
Thanks
Great.
for having me, man.
Great talking to you. It's been fun. Maybe I have to have you back.
Yeah,
I think we could keep going.
Definitely.
Definitely we could.
If you do, I'll do a little bit more brainstorming and stuff that we could talk about, man. This is definitely outside of my forte. I don't normally public speech, you know.
I think you've done pretty well.
I try.
I mean,
awkward silence is weird.
it happens. You want to go ahead and tell everybody where they could find you at? Check out your company.
Yeah, man.
Facebook page.
So we have a warehouse at Sibley and 275. So 36506 Sibley. CB Asphalt and Pavement Supply Plus is located at. We sell salt to the public, mostly bulk, but we also offer bagged salt as well for contractors. We sell seal coat for asphalt, contractor materials like perforated pipe and sock and underlayment. Basically everything I need to do business for asphalt, concrete, and excavating. I warehouse it for my guys and sell it to the public for a good rate.
Where can they find you at again?
36506 Sibley Road in New Boston, Michigan. We're also recycling asphalt and concrete. We'll accept broken concrete and asphalt. Concrete, we're not interested in anything with bar or anything crazy big. We like to be nice to our brand new pulverizers so we can continue to give you a good 21 AA and 1x3 in return. So we'll recycle asphalt and concrete and sell it back to you when you're ready for it. Delivery available. We have trucking. We offer milling services. We don't just mill for ourselves. We'll mill for any company. We can also do excavating and trucking. You name it. We're also screening topsoil as well if you need help in that area for topsoil. We sell grass seed and straw and mulch for the soft surface restoration companies. We're pretty much the one-stop shop and the guys you want to be friends with if you're down in our area because we'll get you hooked up.
That's awesome. Appreciate it. And as always, you can find our show, more postings and info at Between Whiskey and Pneumonia on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks.